Good morning to my early viewers of the stream. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. What's going on in Bitcoin land today, ladies and gentlemen? We are ranging. So we've got a lot to talk about today as we prepare for the next big movement. Grab yourself some coffee, pop out some Bitcoin squats. Heck, pop out some Neo squats because some whale just sent about $2.5 million worth of Neo to Binance. And the last time I checked, you don't send cryptocurrency to Binance to buy. Stay tuned for today's episode of Breaking Bitcoin.
choice I make, it's my new rebellious way.
And we're live. Hey guys, welcome to another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin with your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and co-founder at CrackingCryptocurrency.com. Hopefully you guys are doing absolutely fantastic today, whether you're tuning into us today from across YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or of course on Roku with the Investor News Channel app. Of course, if you want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in that live chat. And we've got a fantastic show for you guys today. I want to go through a few quick updates, and then we're going to break right in, give away some crypto, and break down the markets. First off, as you guys know, as wildly requested, the team has been hard at work. So we have two, count them, not one, but two videos coming up for you this weekend. By popular demand, we will have the first part of our ByBit tutorial series that we are going to be uploading to the YouTube channel this weekend. So make sure to be ready for that. And then coming up on Sunday, a video that we've been shooting as well is ready to release. And this is going to be a tutorial and a walkthrough on how to make sure that your Bitcoin cold storage is more secure than ever before. So it's something we've been researching a lot, something we're pretty passionate about, especially as somebody who is an investor of Bitcoin, who does take his privacy and security very seriously. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Really excited to bring that stuff to you guys. Other than that, also getting, I know, you thought it couldn't get any better, but also getting a pretty significant upgrade in camera quality come around this time next week. So be on the lookout for that as well. I'm probably going to make a pretty big deal about it because I'm pretty psyched up about it. But with that being said, I want to thank this month's crypto comment giveaway sponsor, Spectre Security Coin, good friend of the channel. Make sure to go check them out at spectresecurity.io for all your security needs, especially if you need help with your project. Now, with that being said, let's hop into the somewhat live stream and give away some crypto. All right, and here we are in the live hacking scene. Clearly, as you can see, he is hard at work at brute force attacking the YouTube random comment picker, but not today, good sir. We will load the comments from yesterday's video. Make sure to go check that out if you haven't had an opportunity. We talked about the, in my opinion, fairly large, and I'm pretty critical about it, pump and dump scheme involving the Tunisian central bank and their digital asset and a few companies from across the pond over here. IBM leaks as well, talking about the future of central bank digital assets. And again, we touched on the danger that that poses to us. So let's randomly pick a winner. And the winner is going to be Mr. Ian Corator. Thank you so much for your continued support. And Ian says, Justin, always love your content and insights about big government. Good talking points when we consider the future of our children's lives and what we'd like to pass on to them. Keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you so much. You too as well, my good friend. Thank you for your continued support. And yes, being aware of what the relationship is between us as a private citizen and them as a centralized authority in the form of government or nation states is absolutely critical. This is something we don't talk about, and you can tell we should be talking about it because they don't teach it in school. If you want to know where you should devote your attention to studying, it's what is not being taught in school. It is what is not being talked about in public. So thank you so much. With that being said, right on over to the live scene to talk about Bitcoin and what a boring chart this is. Dear Lord God, can we get some movement in? I don't care if it is bullish at this point in time. I really don't care if it is bearish at this point in time. I really don't care if it looks like this. Can we just get some form of sustained movement that is not up, down, left, right, all the way to the side? At this point in time, I wouldn't be surprised if price started moving to the left. Listen, no need to get frustrated. Here is the reality. When we look for trend following trades, the movement will always come, and we just need to be vigilant and on guard for when those movements do come. And the way that that happens, the way that we can capitalize on those movements is by vigilantly and with discipline applying our trading strategy at the designated time frame that we have dedicated ourselves to trading. Now, for you watching, I don't care whether you have a daily time frame strategy or a 12-hour strategy, a 4-hour, a 2-hour, or God forbid, a 15 to 30-minute strategy. Doesn't matter. All you need to do is, if you have back tested your strategy and if you have forward tested it with actual capital and you know that at the end of your trading cycle, whether that you measure on the month or whether you measure on the year, which is what I recommend, you can also measure by quarter, that's fine, that you will have more profit than loss. It doesn't matter anything that occurs between the beginning and the end. All that matters is that P&L at the end of the quarter. And if you allow any individual movement in the market, any individual trade, any individual series of trades to negatively affect you, continuing on and executing your strategy day in and day out, then you are the one that's going to be getting in the way of your profit, and not the market, not the signals, not the strategy. It's going to be you failing to execute on a system that you have tested and that you know works over and over and over again. But we're all in this together, and we can safely say that for the love of God, this is boring. So obviously there's been opportunities in the altcoin market as well. So it's nice that we do have a nice, yes, the crypto comment giveaway is definitely rigged, but low views, boring chart, hang on, she's going to pop. Yes, hold yourselves tightly because volatility is contracting, and we actually can look at that with a few of our indicators. So let's zoom in and start talking about price today. Now, overall, there's not a whole lot to talk about insofar as price goes. If we actually take a look at the structure of the candle, it is a down candle. We did open today's candle right at yesterday's close, clearly, as we do every single day at 88.17. We are here on the Bitstamp chart. We are currently looking at 87.54. So we have had a pullback of about $65, give or take. Overall, not a fairly large movement, not even some very significant wicks. So overall, this is a very squat doji candle as we currently sit, as we currently look at it. If we look at where the indicators are, we are in an overall bearish situation with minks below the 0 line as a centered oscillator and also below the noise line as a line cross indicator. We have commodity channel index below 0 as well as a centered oscillator. And if we take a look at Wadatar explosion and we look at our explosion level, which we are using to measure volatility and tell us when it is attractive to trade and not to trade, we can just see this basically straight line down insofar as volatility is concerned right here. It is just a straight line down as far as the volatility measures. If we kind of take a look historically, this is not the peak low of volatility. We can't actually get all the way down here. We can actually get all the way down here. And those are typically where the larger movements happen, but definitely keep your eye on that as well. And then what are we looking for the signal? We are looking for the positive signal that volatility is on the rise and on the uptick. However, I do know individuals that have been talking about this indicator in terms of supply and demand or support and resistance. So basically looking for those peak areas where price does turn around, where volatility does absolutely reach its peak. And then the only question is directional bias. So something interesting that I wanted to bring up, well, actually, before we get into that, let's just finish with the market structure, and then we can actually talk about future and current setups. So let me make sure I pull up my notes so that I don't miss anything. And okay, so the current position that I am in actually is a long position, and let's walk through that. So about 36 hours ago, we got a qualifying 12-hour short signal. On the very next 12-hour close, we got an exit signal. So we exited pretty much right at break even. And then there was not a clear objective signal of where we wanted to go. So what did I do? I went back to the original trade that I had wanted to put on at this level. For those of you who watch the show regularly, we can go back, and you guys are well aware that when we first cracked this, when we first rejected from this resistance, the setup that I talked about was a movement down to 8.8, 8.7, and should we actually breach lower than that, I was looking to get filled at 8.55. You guys can go back and see that. That is where I was sitting, and that's where my sentiment was at. Currently trading at 87.55. So because I did not have a clear signal, looking at the levels of supply and demand and the current order block that we have tested multiple times, actually twice, that is the trade setup that I went with, because that is what I had originally wanted to do from this level. And so that's what I did. It's pretty simple. So I am currently in a long position. You guys can actually see that long position behind me on the ByBit chart. Again, looking forward to that tutorial coming out this weekend. Links in the description if you guys are so interested. So where we currently sit with a little bit of a down candle, not a whole lot of movement, volatility dropping way off. I know there's a lot of people calling for a large movement, and I can absolutely understand that. Definitely a time to be vigilant, definitely a time to be watching the charts. And so I want to finish the rest of the points that I have here. I do want to look at some other things. And then we'll kind of get into, in my opinion, maybe the best way to navigate this particular instance, this particular trade setup with a little bit more complicated strategy, with a little bit more complicated setup insofar as trade execution. But before we get into that, I do want to take a look at the monthly chart, and I want to pull open one of our most popular proprietary indicators, which is time transformation. So we'll throw time transformation on the chart, and this was brought to my attention. I actually am actually verifying it actually live for you guys on the stream. So on the monthly time frame, we're not actually getting a verified sell signal. The verified sell signals are going to come in the form of these red printed triangles. But what we are experiencing on the monthly time frame is a potential cross under. Now, we are about halfway through the month, so we do have quite a bit of time for this to actually play out and change. I actually would expect that unless we get a very significant Jericho candle, that this will not change, however, on the other hand. So this would be from the highest time frame. And again, we want to be careful about looking at these positional trades, but this is something to consider if you are a long-term positional holder or trader of Bitcoin. Basically, you are looking to hold positions open for months at a time, and you are kind of looking for this reset. Now, before you guys jump into action, I want to qualify this with something that we're going to go over here in just a moment. But I did just want to bring that to your attention. Time transformation is designed to let you know when the trend, the larger trend, is designed to shift. It is great to be utilized as an exit indicator. We don't look at reversals. We don't typically trade counter trend reversals. We don't trade against the dominant trend of any market structure because that leads to failure. But this is a good early warning sign, or in this case on the monthly, a little bit of a late warning sign that potentially the trend is going to be shifting. And we can really see that, obviously. You know, price was on a nice about 4 or 5 month bullish spree. We've had about 4 months. We had about 3 months of continuous downside, and we've had 2 months of relative chop. I mean, honestly, if you just walked away pretty much at the close of the September monthly candle, you would honestly think that nothing had happened in between if you were only looking at the monthly chart. And that is the reason why volatility is dropping off and getting so low, especially on the time frames that we trade. On the weekly time frame, there's not a whole lot to discuss, in my opinion. I guess the only thing here that I would be looking at and that I do think is significant is where did we find support? Where did we actually see demand come into the market? It was off the secondary baseline on the weekly time frame in the form of the 55 exponential moving average. That is where we saw the demand come into the market and where we did get that Jericho candle that boosted us up for the third largest movement in Bitcoin's price activity. And now we've seen 3 very languid, placid. I'm looking for a better synonym here. Anyways, just, this lazy listing down to the downside. And we have broached on the previous weekly candle, the 13 exponential moving average on the weekly, and now the 21 exponential moving average on the weekly, letting us know if we're looking for a significant area of supply on the weekly time frame. Well, we're there right now in the form of this order block. This is where obviously Bitcoin's price action was halted back at 87.32 on the rise to the upside. We got a down candle and then right back to the races on the movement up, which makes it a significant area of supply, which makes it also a significant turning point in the market when we are looking for order block horizontals. That is actually almost identically where we are actually resting down right now. So this is definitely something to keep in mind and does add a little bit of confluence to that long trade that I have set up. But if this level is breached, if we do get this movement to the downside, if we do violate these levels, then I do feel looking at the weekly chart, the movement is going to be down to 8,000. The movement is going to be down to 8,000. We have a little bit more nuance on that if we look at the daily time frame, which we're actually going to go to right now, and looking for these levels. And here on the daily time frame, I do have the current order blocks plotted out insofar as I see them, and we are currently consolidating in it and hopefully accumulating in that range between between 85.82 and 89.01. That's where the current, it's a $500 range. It's quite a wide range on the daily, but that is the current level where we are accumulating and ranging right now. Again, if this level is breached, then on the daily time frame, it would suggest a movement down to 82.08 and 79.91, where we do have almost perfect confluence with that weekly secondary baseline in the form of the 55 exponential moving average. And for those of you looking to buy low and sell high, would be the area to potentially consider getting back into Bitcoin if you are looking to play the supply and demand zones, if you are looking to play the order box, i.e. support and resistance. Beyond that, I'm not going to be looking at lower price targets at this point in time because we've only, if we go back and look at how Bitcoin behaved here previously, you can see that we did accumulate here. We did have a spring or a stop loss hunt, and then a massive, massive movement to the upside, which so far has been nothing but a stop loss hunt, particularly for individuals that were going short in this area. And again, not a stop loss hunt. I talked about this earlier. I do feel that this is it would be a very rare occurrence if we got such a significant movement out of Bitcoin with almost no follow through. If I've learned one thing about trading Bitcoin, and Eli back, thank you so much for the $5 donation, my good friend. He says, check Neo, please. Made out like a bandit after 30% gains. Should I wait for a re-entry because it still looks like it may pump again? We're going to take a look at Neo here in just a second. So hold that thought. Thank you so much for the generous contribution, my friend. Love you, my brother. It would be, if I've learned anything about trading Bitcoin, it's that when Bitcoin starts pumping, you get out of the way. You get out of the way and you get long. For all this talk about stop loss hunts and price movements and market manipulation, one thing is very, very clear. On the daily, on any time frame, pretty much, when Bitcoin starts making big charging candles and you wait for those candles to close and they actually close, you're probably going to get continuation for a while. Bitcoin is an asset that when it takes off, it continues to take off for quite a while. And we can actually see that in the form of the Jericho candle. Even when the daily closed, this is a candle where a lot of people would feel very hesitant to enter here, looking for it continuing the trade to the upside. But what did we get? We saw a massive continuation on that candle. And interestingly enough, if we go back to April, exact same thing, where we actually broke out of the consolidation range when we bottomed out back in December. And we pretty much accumulated or consolidated on low volume and low volatility, except for a few fairly large movements. But look at this massive candle to the upside. And one would have been hesitant to enter in at that point in time. But if one would have held a longer term position through this chop, the correct direction was to the upside. Bitcoin is a asset that generally trends quite strongly, especially when it starts taking off, especially on the daily time frame. So definitely something to consider. Now, this is a little bit more of an aberration. This is something that we really haven't seen in Bitcoin's price action, where we do get such a massive movement to the upside on the daily time frame, and we don't have near immediate continuation. Now, this has happened a few times, but it is quite rare. It is quite rare, and I think it would be exceedingly rare if we didn't get more longer term continuation of this, even though the dominant trend on most time frames is still to the downside. So I would be cautious about. I would be cautious about long-term bearishness at this point in time. I would be very cautious about long-term bearishness at this point in time. That's not where I am sitting. And thank you so much for the other $5 donation. And he wants to make another quick note. Mr. Eli back. Also a quick note. China's pumping this coin hard as fuck because every pump has happened after 1 a.m. It's been a long night these last few days. Yes, I do feel you. I was talking last night with some of the guys, and you guys know the feeling if you're anywhere in the Western Hemisphere, where you go to bed, at any reasonable time, and you just have the feeling that when you wake up and look at the Bitcoin chart, it doesn't matter which way the market moves, you're going to be pissed off. It's just that going to bed with dread and waking up knowing that no matter what, you're probably going to be unhappy. There are things we can do. You can modify your time frame. I feel that a lot of volatility comes around the daily time frame. I honestly haven't experienced a whole lot of trouble in the aggregate, in the totality of all my trades by trading the way that I do in the Western Hemisphere. But it does, in my opinion, require a modification of your strategy. And that's why I do trade the daily close and why I do trade, again, candle closes, which is just good practice no matter what time frame that you're trading. Now, looking at where we're at right now. So hold on, let's finish up these last notes here. Oh, something that was pointed out to me that I do think is interesting and would suggest a little bit more confluence with that weekly 55 exponential moving average. And you guys know how I feel about trend lines, but if we do draw a trend line, and it's not perfect, but it's the best fit, connecting essentially the three highs, the significant high here, and then all the way down to where we are currently sitting, we do see Bitcoin resting on that trend line as we sit. Now, this had actually looked a little bit better. So, okay, so sorry. This is my bad. I did draw this wrong. Okay. There we go. And this is the problem with trend lines. Because this did look different when I connected it earlier. So let me see how old boy had done this again. Okay, there we go. Now that's the right high. You see the problem with trend lines? That's the right high. So if we look at this interpolation of a possible interpretation of where to connect this trend line, which again, now this is what I would consider most likely the best fit because we now are in the range of touching pretty much all the highs, and this is a pretty good fit trend line. But this would intersect directly with the 55 exponential moving average and would suggest again that that's where support would be coming in. But again, Here's the problem with trend lines. Let's connect this a slightly different way, and we've got a completely different structure. And now it just looks like nothing but bearish. Now it looks like nothing but turtles all the way down, nothing but bearish. So just thought I'd mention that. Obviously, I think the larger point I'm trying to make there is that that's kind of garbage. Now, I do want to point out another thing as well, and this is just more interesting and less technical. If we look, and you guys, let me know what you guys think about this. But I want to point out this range. I want to point out essentially this range right here. And this is a pretty wide range, but you know, I would say that it has a rough median around the $9,000, $8,500 level, which is where we're currently sitting right now. And we can just see that if we look at Bitcoin on the logarithmic scale, this is a very, very, very trending asset. But let's look past the peak of the bull market in 2017, and let's just look at what we've experienced over the last 2 years, really here. And what that is we've seen. Let's notice this range between 6,800 and 9,600. Let's just say it's not perfect. We could slide this up. We could slide this down a little bit, but let's just kind of narrow in on this area right here. Pretty much Bitcoin just moves in one dominant direction, doesn't really stop for very long. And again, on the way down, when it's trending, on the way up. When it is trending, it doesn't really stop and hang out anywhere, which of course is the definition of the trend. Duh, Justin, come on, man. Like I thought you were good at this, blah, blah, blah. But I just want to point out that this area right here has seen the most ranging activity. And what is ranging? Like, why does ranging occur in the market? Ranging occurs in the market when there is a fairly equal distribution between buyers and sellers. And so what you are seeing is the battle over the fair market value. Whereas when the market is strongly trending, you have the buyers, when price is trending to the upside, you have buyers fully in control because they feel that the price of the asset is extremely bullish and is going to appreciate. That's why they're just buy. And when Bitcoin is trending to the downside, it moves massively to the downside and it just doesn't stop anywhere. But where has it stopped over the last 2 years? Both on the way down, in the case of the peak of 2017 to the low of 2019, and where is it stopped on the way up in the case of the low of 2019 to the peak of 2019? Well, it stopped in this range. It stopped in this range, in this median range. And this is where we stop and range for a while. And if we look back at 2018, we can see that we ranged here pretty much from February all the way over, one would argue, until we dropped off in November. So at least until late September, at least until mid-October, at least, we ranged around this horizontal range. And again, very similarly, even though Bitcoin was trending strongly to the upside, we didn't spend as much time here, not even as close to as much time here as we did back in 2018, but we did stop here. We can see that momentum died off. We did have a down candle when we hung out in this area for quite a while. This is the weekly time frame, so that's a month that we stayed in this range. And now that we consolidated above the top of this range and have dropped back into there, what have we seen? The exact same thing, consolidation for about 2 months now in or around this range. What that would suggest to me is that on a higher macro scale, looking at this price range between 6,800 and 9,600, it seems to me that the market has decided that this is essentially the fair market range of Bitcoin's price. This is the fair market value of BTC valued in dollars. Meaning that this can often be a tricky and difficult area to trade because it is at this point in time when there is a lot of disagreement between buyers and sellers and you don't have anyone, either a buyer or a seller, clearly in control of the market. Whereas in other cases, Bitcoin just trends. And as the asset matures, as Bitcoin matures, we will see more of this disagreement over price behavior. As it grows in liquidity, as it grows in adoption, you will see the volatility die off. It is a natural dynamic of any market. Now, I still think that Bitcoin will retain large volatility for a very long time to come. It is a new asset, it is a new asset class. It is the spearhead of this new asset class that we call cryptocurrency. But I do think it's critical to point out exactly why, I think from a higher perspective, why this area is so tricky. It was tricky to trade back in 2018, and it's tricky to trade here in 2019. And the reason why is because it is a rangy, choppy market. Now, one would argue that in this situation, one should deploy a reversion to the mean strategy or a support and resistance strategy, which, keep in mind, supply and demand or support and resistance is a natural part of cryptocurrency. Why? Or part of PTP. Why? Because supply and demand exist in cryptocurrency. They don't exist in Forex. They do exist in the stock market. They do exist in precious metals, but they do exist particularly in cryptocurrency, at making this analysis, making this understanding of where the delineating lines between trending range or essentially overbought, or trending range to the downside or oversold becomes vital. And again, I'm not really talking about overbought or oversold in the context of the RSI or any indicator. I think that's largely nonsense. But in the case of just looking at the structure of the market and looking at price data, which again, remember, is the only data point that we actually have on the chart. Everything else derives from that closing price, which is why I, as a trader, only look at closing price to determine which way to trade, because that's the only thing that is telling you where to go. So I think that's important. I think that's important to note out, and I think that's important for traders to realize. So don't despair. Hang in there. We're all in this together. Eventually, we will break out of this range, and we will have fresh and new. But on lower time frames, on the daily, on the 12-hour, on the 4, there are still amazing trading opportunities in Bitcoin with the right strategy, with the right system. So getting back to the order blocks of the daily, again, consolidating between the order block between 85.82 and 88.15. Again, if this area is breached, I do see price probably going down to 82.08, 79.91. Waiting, honestly, in my long trade for the break up to the upside, because I do think, again, it's the right play to make. It's the right play to make. The current order block that we're testing, accumulating in this range, and waiting for confirmation would come on a daily close above 88.15 at this point in time, which again is most likely also going to be giving us a potential long signal, or at least an exit for a short, which I would take at this point in time. But if we're looking for classic PTP signals or PTP structure, we are below the zero line. MINX is below the noise line. Commodity Channel Index has now dipped below the zero line, and the volatility filter is not giving us the go-ahead. So for PTP to signal us to get in this trade, it most likely will take a day or two, but that's okay, because that will be waiting for confirmation. And I also want to make that point. I hear this derogatory term applied to confirmation indicators quite often, and that is, these things lag. They just tell you what's already happened. I want a predictive indicator. No, you don't. No, you really don't, because people just say those words like this indicator is lagging, and they don't actually understand what the words that they're saying mean. The reason why is because you want, as a trend following trader, to have confirmation that this is actually a trend and not a fake out. Lagging indicators do that. Predictive indicators are almost always wrong. They attempt to predict what will happen in the future based off of the past. And again, one thing that we know from trading Bitcoin, counter trend trading does not have a high probability of success. The most successful traders are trend following traders. The traders that get chopped up the most and spit out by the market are counter trend traders. Unfortunately, that method is just very popularized by individuals thinking that they want to buy the bottom and sell the top, and that's just not reality. That's just not reality. The traders that have the highest degree of success, the traders that manage very large portfolios, these are typically trend following traders who typically do a lot of macro or fundamental analysis in conjunction with their positions. Now, with all that being said, let's do a summary real quick. On a macro scale, Bitcoin is consolidating in a tricky range in something that I would postulate is the fair market value or fair market range of Bitcoin's price. We are on the daily time frame consolidating inside the order block, actually looking for a continuation trade in the direction of the dominant trend in this order block range. If this area is breached, price will drift down to 82.08, 79.91. So how can we capitalize on this? I think the best way to capitalize on this is setting our stop loss very close below this range. Now, we don't want to structure it in such a way that we get chewed up by a stop loss hunt, and a spring could definitely occur. But I do think that the danger, especially with volatility so low, especially with price moving in this area, if we do broach this area, it probably will be on a fairly large candle. And you do want to be kind of set up to take advantage of this and capitalize on this movement to the downside. So being able to set a stop market order that not only will get you out of your long trade, but also will enter you into a short trade, I think is a good way to go about doing this. This way we can get filled as we're exiting the long. If we end up getting stopped out of the long, move that into our short. And since our position size was calculated with a stop loss down at down around the $7,900 level, which is good on the daily time frame. That's just where ATR is. That's where volatility is. That allows us to actually take a significantly smaller loss on the stop loss if we do end up tightening up our stop loss significantly, and being able to enter in on that stop market trade. Now that's tricky. That's not stock PTP. That's a little bit nuanced, and it comes from a discussion that I've had with a few of the members, especially. I thanked Alex the other day for this. So again, this idea is coming from him as well. talking about this split trade, when we were talking about the other day about potentially going long and short simultaneously and hedged up, obviously if we run the numbers and we run the math, it makes more sense to just run a virtual split by entering into one position that we think is the better position and then setting our entries, setting our take profits and stop losses for both trades, not actually entering into both trades, using one asset, one ticker, one account to take it, and using stop orders to actually flip and enter into the dominant position with your take profits and stop losses already being set up in advance. So that area, that concept came out of that conversation. Now we're going to be talking about NEO when we get back. We're gonna talk about a potential bearish catalyst that we'll get into here in just a little bit. But before all that, with all of this misunderstanding in the market, with all of this agitation, with all of this frustration, I think it's absolutely time that we check in with junior analyst Midwest Attempt for today's Bitcoin weather report. Midwest, what do you got for us today?
Let's be honest, Justin, do you know? Because I don't fucking know. I can't figure it out. Why don't you give me some news that I can use over here? I'm a goddamn shitty weatherman. You have the answers? Oh, get over here, you son of a bitch.
Susan, increase the security. Yeah, it happened again. Yep. Thank you. Hang in there, Midwest. Hang in there. The ranging market gets us all frustrated a little bit. Just it's going to be okay, brother. Thank you, Midwest. Thank you very much. All right, so let me hold on. Susan, make sure the ammunition's stocked. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's go take a look at NEO, because I do want to talk about something interesting that came across my desk this morning, and this is coming from Whale Alert. So this morning, let's actually give this a nice little refresh so we can get an accurate timestamp. About 3 hours and 37 minutes ago, today, about 182,957 NEO, worth about 2.3 million, that's Millie with an M, $million, was transferred from an unknown wallet to Binance. And the last time that I checked, ladies and gentlemen, people don't transfer funds to Binance, crypto to Binance, to buy. Okay, they typically transfer crypto to Binance to sell. Okay, so this would be a pretty significant sell signal. This would be a pretty significant warning alert, and I would be on the lookout for any potential pumps to the upside that would be liquidity grabs, because obviously individuals are going to be attempting to buy at the best possible price, and it is fairly easy for a large trader to stage price movement to the upside and then have their limit orders being filled. So let's go take a look at the NEO chart. Yeah, so here we are on the daily, and we have seen continual pumps, and we actually are pumping up to that range, to that point of control on the VPVR, to that order block that I talked about ad nauseum the other day, coming between 001534 and 001572. And it would be my assumption that whoever transferred that 2.3 million NEO is looking at most likely the exact same thing, is looking at this range. I mean, honestly, look at NEO right here. Just absolutely gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. NEO's been a great hold from the bottom. NEO was a coin that I held. I will actually be looking to get to start exiting out of my NEO position starting today, now that we have appreciated in price so far. That was just a hold that I've had for a while, not a long-term establishment position, but I do think it's a good opportunity to take advantage of this, and then we can kind of switch and be looking for more longer-term trending trades if and when NEO deals with this current level that we are coming up on. This is a significant level of supply, and I would be cautious about entering into NEO at this point in time. Again, we talked about the continuation signal over here on PTP. We did talk about this trade. this continuation signal right here, actually. Sorry, yes, it was on the 10th of November 2019. Got a continuation signal for PTP. So even if you were trading, you would have been able to take price to the upside and actually hit all three of your take profits on this wick. If you would have been running that trailing take profit, then you would be already up at current price as well with the last little bit of your position. But a great trade right there just from the last PTP signal. And I think we talked about this the other day. Here is an entry for PTP right here. Potentially one would have gotten kicked out on this candle, so that would have been a small losing trade, and then continuation again on this candle, allowing you to capture both of these fantastic bullish candles and wicks. And then overall chop, no clear signal. You can see here that Minx is below the noise line, and then we actually do get that continuation signal again on the 10th right here on this candle. So beautiful. PTP has handled this masterfully over here on the Neo BTC chart, but we are unfortunately coming up to a significant level of supply, and I do feel that it is time to begin taking those profits, ladies and gentlemen. And if you are looking at Neo and you're like, oh my god, I missed the movement, I don't think you missed the. Well, maybe you did miss the movement if you missed the movement, but I don't think right now is a very good opportune time to enter. Let's see what happens as we kind of deal with this range, as we deal with this level of supply. So that would be my current thoughts on Mr. Neo right now. Yes, I remember when Neo was over $100. I also remember when Bitcoin was $19.8 thousand. Let us never forget. I also remember when Ripple was $3, but we ain't going back there anytime soon, are we? Boom, boom. Okay. How do I, cool, turn timestamps on. Oh, cool, I can see it right over here. Neat. Neat. GBU Professor Wally, thank you so much for the $5 donation, my good friend. He says, Binance distributes gas for Neo holders and has frequently announced incentives for deposits. That is possible. It is possible that this is just incentivization for somebody to deposit their Neo. Obviously, we do have large, it's just a little too coincidental. Priced at a significant level of supply. Neo's been pumping. This is a significant chunk of money that is moving on to the exchange. And it seems, Occam's razor. It seems more likely that Neo is being sent there to sell than to get the gas that one could receive from. I mean, I have Neo in the Neon wallet, and I get all my gas. You get it right there with your Ledger Nano. You don't even need your Ledger Nano. You just need to use the Neon wallet. And it seems, again, one would hope that somebody with that level of holding is keeping their funds off of the exchange. But again, we've seen time and time again that having a large amount of capital does not necessarily imply large amounts of intelligence. But I digress. But thank you for pointing that out. That is a good point. Lest people accuse me of fudding the Neo markets. Don't fud the Asian markets, Justin. Come on. Wally's like, come on, man. I got a big bag of Neo. Stop raining on my parade, brother. Let's see here. Back to the. Now, I do also want to kind of point out. This is from Reuters today. This just came out this morning, 1:38 in the morning. Now this, everybody's kind of talking about, all right, well, we're looking for a big movement. What often happens to justify this movement? Again, it's not the news that causes the movement. The movement's already planned by people wanting to sell, and the way that the order books are set up, the way that people have positioned their trades. It's a cascading effect once stops start getting triggered and once start people piling into a directional trend. But typically, a catalyst will come, and then whoever decides to start the motion will use that as justification for executing a large order market-wise. And this is coming from Reuters. China denying that they have issued any digital currencies. The rumor has been spreading for the last few weeks that China has actually already issued digital currency, that this process has already begun, and that they're already in the process of transitioning their entire economy over to this new digital currency. But this is not the case, according to the People's Bank of China, according to the China Central Bank. They said this morning to Reuters that they have not issued any digital currency whatsoever or authorized any trading platforms to deal in such currencies, denying the rumors that the issuance of this currency has taken place. Now, they did admit, of course, that they are still testing their own digital currency, and a timetable for the rollout of this new digital currency is not actually available yet. But if we are looking for a potential bearish catalyst, there you have it right there. There you do have it right there, which again, I do think also leads a little bit of confluence to us wanting to structure that trade in such a way that if we end up getting a pretty significant large movement to the downside here, and we do break out with a large sell movement, that we do want to be getting pushed into that short trade, short position. MT Coiner, man, thank you so much for the $5 super chat as well, my friend. He says, why can't I stop buying EOS? Next to Bitcoin, it's my only other weekly buy, but you don't know why. Yeah, honestly, if we go ahead and take a look at EOS, so EOS and the members in the group know the two altcoins that I am positioning into and scaling into. Actually, one coin position I've actually increased to about 5% of my portfolio. Pretty happy with that position. The other one I just recently started and will be looking to essentially buy all dips, look to increase that bag over the next 6 to 12 months. And EOS is right in there in the same point in time. But to be quite honest with you, when I had to make the decision from a fundamental perspective, it was between the second coin that I just mentioned and EOS. And I decided to go with the coin that I'm entering into over EOS because I think the fundamentals are a little bit stronger. But I have nothing against EOS. I do actually have some EOS. I do hold EOS in my ledger. I have nothing against it. I think it's the top 10. If you're looking to establish a diversified portfolio of crypto, it's pretty hard to ignore the top 10. Just got to get all excited for those block one motivational posts. I'll tell you what, man. Regardless of how attractive EOS might look, one thing that I will say, and we'll go over and look at the EOS chart. One thing that I will say is that whoever's doing their videography is terrible, man. Like, they have got to, that's one thing. Like, these companies have got to we live in a digital age, and I can make something. For example, you'll see it with the videos coming out this weekend. Our team puts out better quality post-production content than most of these blockchain companies. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's no excuse for it. If I see a company and they have a very poorly produced marketing video, I lose all interest to invest in the company. I just lose all interest. Like, it just shows that you don't care and you don't understand. Like, you got to be plugged in, man. Looking at EOS USD, this is the BitMEX chart. So this does stretch all the way back to 2017 of July. This is a fairly interesting level right here. Let's go and look at the weekly. Let's bring up our EMAs, which are pretty good at long-term analysis here. EOS has the potential here to become an oscillator. What we really need to see, however, it has lived through a bull and bear cycle. It has lived through a bull and bear cycle and come out the other side. It is, again, in the negative overall portion on the higher time frames of its movements. So we really need to see what I would like to see from a trading perspective on this time frame on the weekly is I would like to see EOS show the ability to get back above $4.30, which is where the weekly 55 exponential moving average is coming from. I'd like to see us get back above that. We did get a little bit of a close on the weekly above the 13 exponential moving average, but we're just currently rejecting on this week. So that would be a potential early signal right there if we actually can rally, turn this around, and actually close again and start trading above that 13, coming in at around $3.55. So potentially, if one's looking for a positional trade, that could be the signal or catalyst for that. I don't want to put too much stock in these lows. Obviously, we do have this previous range that we accumulated in before the kick up essentially, and not a spring, but it did come, obviously with seller exhaustion right here before we accumulated at a slightly higher range before the movement to the upside began, and that is exactly where we wicked down into below right here. So I mean, this is pretty classical, like straightforward stuff. You know, if we end up broaching this level, that's pretty bearish until we actually trade back up into it. I'd be a little hesitant at looking at the strength of this area right here. It kind of is a retreat again to the initial area of supply, where we did actually reach our market lows. You know, I'm not going to lie, from a charting perspective, you know, the USD pair here doesn't really excite me very much. But those are the things that I'd be watching for. You know, price above $3.55. You know, at least up to the 55 EMA, seeing if we get rejection or if we actually get a nice breakout from that. Because as you can see, when we did get a breakout, we had about a month of consolidation and then continuation, pretty swift consolidation. On the daily time frame, we are actually consolidating above that 55 EMA. Let's go and pull up our 30 period Nonchain. And look where we would have got a nice long signal right here. Would have got an EOS USD long signal right here. Would have kept us in this trade, taking some profit right on this candle, and then continuation here. And overall, we can see the volatility is low, and it doesn't want us re-entering this trade. So not a trade to take on the daily time frame right now as we sit. But the weekly does look interesting, but not overall very convincing, if I do say so myself. All right, let's go take a gander at Ethereum. RK says, hey, Justin, as we are currently under the baseline, what is justifying going long on BTC, the order block that we're trading into? Supply and demand is an element of PTP, is an element of looking at the markets. So again, it was essentially the trade that I initially wanted to put on before I took the 12-hour short and then got pushed out of that on the very next candle with essentially a break-even closure of that trade. And so I reverted back to the original trade that I wanted to put on, which is, again, as I talked about, getting filled at 8.8, 8.7, and 8.55 and taking price to the upside. Pick one coin other than a stable coin to take out of the top 20 and replace it with one from 100 to 4,000. Holochain. Big Saints, he says, have I missed any Midwest videos? Yeah, we did do the Bitcoin weather report earlier, my friend. Stop it, Brett. He's like, it's amazing how you suspect you know what this whale is thinking. Coincidence? All About says, the last 14th of November, there was a huge BTC dump. What do I think now? Yeah, well, you know, like nothing really, you know. I think, you know, we want to go back and look at all the other previous November the 14th and see if there is a coordinated pattern. Let's go find out. This is something that's fairly easy to test. Hello, Mr. Bitstamp. All right, Alt G, and we want to go to all right. So November the 14th, big dump in 2018. Can't argue against that. November the 14th, 2017. Oh, come on now. Doji candle. And big move to the upside. All right, let's go back and look at 2016. Doji candle. And move into the upside. The 14th of November, 2015. Long-legged doji candle and chop. And 2000 and what is this? 14? Bearish candle and chop. And 2013. Bullish candle and continuation. So far, I'm going to say the stats are on consolidation and bullish. But we'll see, man. You know, very, very hard to predict the future. That's what technical analysis is not. Why don't I use chandelier stops? It's because, so I do to a degree. I just don't. Chandelier stops. So chandelier stops is an indicator, but chandelier stops is an idea. It's a concept that is taking the average true range, projecting it whatever ATR is times 3.5 below current price, and that's where you trail your stop up. You know, this basically, by the way, chandelier stops got that idea from Turtle Strategy, which was one of the early inspiring, you know, the way of the turtle was one of the early inspirations for what eventually became PTP and studying trend following trading. So chandelier stops is an indicator that you can get, but it's just a concept. I find that 3.5 is just too wide, to be quite honest with you. I do things the way that I do because they backtest really, really well. They backtest better than 3.5. Plus, I also utilize my stop loss for risk management calculations as far as position sizing. And if I use 3.5, then I would make significantly less money than I make now because my position sizes would be significantly smaller than they are. So that's why. Crypto Caveman, good to see you, my friend. Ken D and Wayne Arndt, thank you so much, guys, for the support. Love you guys. What did I want to talk about? It is 12:51. So I do want to talk about some news. Let's talk about we'll talk about Ethereum when we come back, actually. I think this is kind of a slightly better way to do it. So Coinshares recently revealed the top 10 crypto trends of 2019. And I'm going to give you guys the rundown here. And there will be a link to the actual report if you guys want in the show notes that follow the show. So obviously a new report has been compiled by the digital asset management firm Coinshares. And they pulled data from several industry leaders in the space. And they're trying to attempt to paint a big picture of the cryptocurrency markets. Now, this report attempts to set the stage for Bitcoin by describing the forces of technology, the economy, politics, and society as essentially upsetting the current global order. And that a clear narrative is emerging around Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Now, the report would suggest that Bitcoin, which is now a decade old, is seeing steady market transition from the consumer or the retail trader or the retail investor and hobbyist to larger institutional financial players. And essentially, it goes on to correlate that this is going to open up completely new avenues of adoption and innovation for Bitcoin. The more money, the more innovation, the more adoption. We've seen this with Apple, blah, blah, blah. Now, the next stage for Bitcoin's evolution over the coming decades, according to the report, is going to be so-called Bitcoin banking, third-party custody solutions, with a new generation of financial institutions emerging to deliver key services for crypto-minded clients, banking deposits, insurance, investment products, and other services, all geared up for this new wave of digital assets and the cryptocurrency economy. Now, the Coinshares puts a timeline. Thank you. The Coinshares timeline actually puts a timeline on this, the next phase being around 2022 and beyond, when we will start seeing this in a significant fashion. Now, the report covers the familiar case of financial inclusion, stating that today 3.8 billion people, or 50% of the world, has access to the internet, and 42% of them have access to a smartphone. And while many are participating in online communities, many users are still cut off from the global economy and financial access outside of the local areas where they reside. Now, this shakeup from cryptocurrency in global finance and payments won't be driven by a marketing campaign from banking interests, but rather from innovation coming from mobile devices and social media platforms. Now, major tech firms like Facebook to Samsung to Alibaba are expected to lead in the adoption of advanced digital economies as millennials align with their modern, connected, and device-focused lifestyles to matters of money and finance. Now, with the digital landscape engulfing modern life and profoundly changing human activity, blockchain-based innovation will be a serious disruptive force, and the Coinshares report identifies Bitcoin as the leader of this charge. Comparatively, quote, Bitcoin has been volatile, but on an absolute basis, it's outperformed every other asset class over a comparable timescale. Now, the report highlights the fact that crypto is still in its infancy, with a steep learning curve ahead of the general public, which requires significantly more time before the core concepts of decentralization, trust, security, and accountability begin to gain traction among consumers and industry alike. Quote, the internet did not kill companies. It enabled new types of companies to grow and made existing ones more agile and efficient. Bitcoin and open financial systems will not kill financial institutions. It will enable new types of companies to grow and make existing ones more resilient. Let me know what you guys think about that. I'm kind of interested in that takeaway. Often when we talk about cryptocurrency and when we talk about Bitcoin and its disruptive, we talk about its disruptive ability or its disruption in the financial sector, we basically talk about like the abolishment of the banks. But do you guys see a different future where, again, very similar to the internet, it did not abolish the companies or what came before it. It just made things better, more efficient, and made the companies that innovated more resilient. Do you guys think it's going to be the exact same way? And do you guys feel that these Bitcoin banking services, which most likely will occur, investment products, insurance, do you guys think these things will help or hinder the Bitcoin movement? I'd be interested to hear your comments and your thoughts in the live chat. With that being said, guys, you do see the ByBit chart behind me. This is where we do most of our damage. ByBit was kind enough to actually make me a captain for the upcoming Bitcoin Brawl. There's going to be a large prize pool, a very, very, very large trading competition over there on ByBit. So if you guys want to take part in that, if you guys want to trade with the Cracking Cryptocurrency team, even if you're not a member of the group, you can go get signed up today. And I'm going to bring you a quick video on that. And when we return, and after that, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we return, we're going to break down Ethereum and cover the rest of my thoughts and your questions as well. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
This is Jason when he first learned about Bitcoin margin trading on BitMEX.
Why? Why? Give it back! Give it back! Oh, give it back!
This is Jason 6 months later after signing up for ByBit with the Cracking Cryptocurrency referral link found in the description below. Don't make the same mistake as Jason. Sign up today at bybit.crackingcryptocurrency.com.
Hey guys, and we are back in the live scene, measuring adoption, looking at stuffs, thinking of things. Back to the BTC USD chart. Let's just check in with the lower time frames and see what we are seeing here. Not a whole lot of interesting activity. All right, so let's go. Excuse me. Let's go to the water.
How are you guys doing today? Let me know in the chat. It's a good day for me. All right. So we're going to look at Ethereum right now. We are going to look at Ethereum right now. Now, there are a few things that stand out to me in the realm of Ethereum. Now, honestly, today, what's interesting about Ethereum has been holding its value over Bitcoin in a significant fashion. We've talked about this. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Ethereum USD actually on the daily time frame with standard MINX settings is going to give us a long signal. Now, something that I always like to do and collate, because this is the secondary system that I'm running right now, is to take a look at the SMMA MINX and look at what it has to say. It's actually giving a conflicting signal because it actually told us to be out of position a while ago and has kept us out of the chop. That's the nice thing about SMMA, is that it smooths MINX to a degree where it allows us to stay out of chop more significantly. The nice thing about stock MINX is that it allows us to capture movements, but as a result of that, we are going to have to pay a price on the fact that we're going to have false signals at some point in time, which is going to be a part of any natural strategy. But we are looking at a continuation signal right here. The one thing that we have noticed and that I've continued to be consistent upon with Ethereum here is the fact that we have this overhead order block that we've been struggling with coming in from 191.75 to 193.20. That is the area where we've gotten rejected from once, since it was generated back over here after the large movement to the downside. We can actually see that it does stretch back historically back to support of Ethereum back in June of 2019, close to when we topped in July. This was also the range that was established here, and essentially we are just trading underneath that range right now, or from order block to order block essentially. Now, we talked about looking for a classic breakout type setup would be looking for price to close above 191.75, which would be a violation of that order block and a very classic order block long signal looking at supply and demand or support and resistance. From PTP perspective, we're actually getting that early long signal today on the closure of this candle. Looking at daily time frame targets would actually be putting us up around 196, 204.50, and 213. So pretty good targets, all the way up to about the 70% mark of that difference, of the distance between this order block and this order block right here. So establishing us firmly into that area, which again would lead a little bit of bullish credence over to the Bitcoin chart as well. Now, I don't really have anything other than that. I mean, that's pretty straightforward and clear. That's a continuation long signal on PTP. Holding above the baseline, things are bullish. The only reason to not take the trade would be the Heikinashi color is still red. So in Heikinashi terms, still trending to the downside. But overall, a lot of chop, very difficult. But again, what do you do when you're looking for trending signals? If you're willing to have that, if you're willing to pay the price of break-even trades until you finally capture that long trade, as I've talked about before. Sometimes when we are in consolidation, when our signal finally gives us a system, it's throwing a jab and throwing a jab and throwing a jab and throwing a jab and pulling that jab quickly until you actually get that connection, you actually land that punch, and then you can go in for the right cross, which is the very successful trending trade that we're all looking for a very good addition of P&L to our portfolio, to our trading journal. And I think that opportunity might be coming in today. Now, trying to get comfortable. You know, as I've said before too, we have that price structure that I look for when I'm looking for a breakout, which is a level of resistance preferably an order block, preferably a level of supply, tapping against that resistance multiple times, more than 2 times. 2 is good, 3 is better. The more is better. Because as you tap a level of supply or as you tap a level of demand, it weakens that level. This is basic horizontal support and resistance strategy as I go over in the course, as I go over in the premium webinar series. And looking after the initial test of that resistance, a rejection, but a weak rejection, a rejection that holds the median of the distance between the low that was established from the low and the high that was established from the high, or the resistance area if that is where we did reject from. So we can see that that distance is from here to here. And have we held the median above that? Well, here's the median right here. The median would be the midpoint of that right here. Median would be 172.49, and we can actually see that the baseline, the 30-period Donchian, is at 176.25, and we are currently holding price above that as well. So in the area where we do want to be looking for continuation long signals, which leads a little bit more credence to that Bitcoin USD long setup that I currently have as well. Let's go down to the 12-hour time frame. 12-hour time frame did not give us a long signal over here. Volatility does not agree, so the 12-hour has us flat. Let's go take a look at the 4-hour time frame. The 4-hour is actually going to be giving us a long signal here in about 50 minutes. And the 2-hour time frame gave us a long right here. Let's see how that would have played out. 2-hour time frame would have given us a long right here with a stop loss right here. We would have hit our initial take profit on the very next candle. And haven't hit take profit 2 or 3 yet. This has us pretty much taking the trade up to the order block with stops at 188.85, which we already hit. Or excuse me, sorry. We already hit TP1 at 188.46. Our next one would be at 189.80 and 191.22, around that range. So the meso time frames on the daily for Ethereum are actually bullish. And the daily is just turning bullish right now. In between, it's kind of a mixed bag. The 12-hour is bullish, but doesn't have us in a position. And the 4-hour is going to be signaling for a bullish trade here at the close of this candle in about 47 minutes and 50 seconds. So that would be the trade to look for, essentially looking to take price up again to 189.55, 191.89, and 194.24. So essentially a line from where we're currently at up to the order block to test it, with a stop loss around 183.68. Actually be at 184 because you have 50 cent increments on ByBit. But we have to wait and see where this candle closes. If it actually closes below this Donchian, then we can't take the trade. Now, let's talk about the empire of Binance. How many Binanceans we got in the house today? So this is coming from the BTC Manager website. And Binance is looking to add 180 fiat currencies to their exchange. So Binance had a super meetup in Singapore recently, and CZ, CEO of Binance, announced that within the next 6 to 9 months, they're going to be adding about 180 fiat currencies to the exchange. Come, countries. Come. Come, Zimbabwe dollar. Come, Tunisian dinar. Come to us. So, things are about to get a lot more interesting over there on Binance, especially if you look at the addition of liquidity that might be added by allowing individuals to trade with their native currencies. In this article, he talks about his commitment to customer service, how they have promised their customers a response within 24 hours, and his latest promise is to soon reduce that to 1 hour. So potentially, if you guys are looking for a job, Binance might not be a bad place to apply. I wonder if they pay you in BNB. But, it's very hard to deny that Binance is absolutely crushing it over there with allowing staking on some assets, with providing interest, with doing loaning services, with recently introducing a margin. Let's just hope that Binance US over here can get its game together. Come on, Catherine Coley, I'm talking to you. Holler at your friends over there at Ripple. I'm sure you guys can figure this out. You got this. You got this, girl. $180 fiat currencies, not currency pairs, currencies. Now, we don't know if this is actually going to be trading pairs or if they're just going to accept deposits or purchases for Bitcoin via these fiat currencies, essentially. Because that's a larger task, creating and establishing market makers for 180 different Bitcoin to native currency trading pairs. That would be a more significant task, but I'm really interested to see what comes out of this. Let's see here, guys. Oh, Light Yagami, thanks so much for coming. It's really really starting to worry, man. Nitin Soki says, just checking, Ethereum is doing a pullback based on the last jump to 189.65. Yeah, I think hopefully I covered that. Let me know if you still have questions. I can apply a little bit more nuance. Yagami says, how about that XRP BTC weekly chart? Actually, yes. Hold on. I actually collected footage from the XRP BTC order book right here. Let me pull that up. And there you have it. Let's go check it out. The weekly chart of XRP BTC. Even trend lines don't like it. I don't know what you want me to say, man. It's bullish, baby. All right, but from a purely technical perspective, XRP has recently rallied off of its lows to come up to the weekly 21 exponential moving average. It wasn't able to hold that level; it fell back down below the 13. Even though Minx did go ahead and give us on the weekly time frame, even though it gave us ones on the daily, potential signals to go long at that juncture, allowing us to catch a good week of bullishness, of bullish activity. You actually would have gotten, thank you. You actually would have gotten the reversal signal over here on July, would have been in for another leg down, but Minx actually turned back over here and had your rally up. So even if you would have purchased at the close of this candle, you still would have been good. You would have sat through about 2 months of drawdown or sideways activity, but you would have been able to make out like a bandit. You'd still be actually making out pretty good now taking the exit signal that you would have gotten not only here, but also the cross under on this weekly candle that closed on the 28th of October, opened on the 28th of October, closed on the 4th of November. Now, we're below the baseline on the weekly, so that is not a good thing. No long-term trades here. Price getting above 31.77 sats, that's a different story. So if we can get a pump up about 50 sats and actually close the weekly above there, then there is a potentially a trade on the table. CCI is agreeing. Of course, Wadatar Explosion is not, so there's no long-term weekly trade, but you can see it did take a long time for it to get engaged and in gear. On the daily time frame, this looks fairly nasty. Below the 55, consolidating at the 55 and pumping up and currently rejecting from the 55. So we can see a little bit more nuance there from that. And if we throw out our Donchian, rejecting from the Donchian as well. After this low, we rallied right up, rejected from the Donchian, and it's just been turtles all the way down with this little bit of consolidation right here. This is not good. I still have my XRP USD short position. The daily is signaling right now for you to exit your short position on XRP BTC with this crossover right here. Again, something that I'm always interested in is going and looking at the alternative settings for Minx right here and seeing what it has to say. And it says no such thing. It actually gave you a continuation short here and still has you in that trade with the initial short signal here, but you would have been exited out of that trade. You got the turn here. So this was your counter trend short right here at this point in time. A little bit of drawdown and then big move into the downside. So very simply, if you've been in an active short, it's telling you to get out. It's telling you to stay flat and wait for a break to the downside because volatility is extremely low. But that weekly chart, man, that's good. Try not to let my anti-XRP bias bleed out too much. Does it show? I try for you, man. I try for you, brother. Senor Gains a lot says, hey, Justin, trading altcoins. Should I use my whole equity of my account to calculate my position size or just the equity of the asset coin I'm trading? That's a personal decision. In the group, we have the advanced position size calculator. And that is designed to give you 3 options of how you want to calculate your risk. An option on there is not just equity that you have in the coin. So there are 2 main ways to do it. One way is that, yes, you would calculate your entire trading equity, which is how I position for trades. The other one is, especially if you're dealing with an exchange like Binance or any spot alt exchange where you don't have access to leverage, you want to potentially be using just the amount of equity that you actually have on the exchange or that you relatively expect to have on the exchange. So why is it that Binance blocks US customers and then adds 180 currencies? Because American laws suck. Do I know the big news from Binance for the US customers already? All US citizens can come back legally to Binance and trade without KYC. Link or it didn't happen. Yes, the dark mode in Ledger Live. This is the biggest news in all of crypto. Binance also has support for the new HTC mobile device that will use the Exodus wallet for trading crypto. That's pretty neat. If I am thinking about selling my NEO, what about VeChain? Let's go take a look at VeChain. I was talking about the increase in videos that have been published about individuals being excessively bullish about Mr. VeChain here. Let's see. I want to pull out the VPVR, see if I can find still accumulation at the bottom. That makes sense. That makes sense. Here. Less so with VeChain. VeChain still, in my opinion, has legs, has room to go. This one's tricky, man. It's not a very clearly defined order block. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, about the only thing we have is this point of control at 96 sats, which would suggest that VeChain has room to grow. Now, I mean, objectively, there's no exit signal on the daily. So we are getting a sell candle right now. Not a sell candle, but we're getting a down candle right now. It's a harami, but yeah, there's no exit signal on VeChain right now. We'll see what tomorrow brings us. If we have another down candle, that will be an exit signal. VeChain's been on a hell of a ride. You know, a pullback at this point in time would not surprise me. We have likely pullback points in the form of 60 sats and 56 sats, which is quite a movement down. But as it sits right now, there's no exit signal on VeChain, nor do we have that same thing that we saw on Neo, where we actually saw the big whale movement over to the Binance Exchange in conjunction with price pretty much almost directly at that order block, that level of supply. We don't really see the exact same thing with VeChain. We don't really see the exact same thing with VeChain. I mean, one could make the argument that this level is significant over here or that this level is significant over here, but then we're getting into right line, wrong line, which is just, that's not how we trade. That's not how we trade. If there are clear levels of supply and demand are evident on the chart, and that's why you can make decisions based around them. If you have to hunt for a level, it's not worth it. It's not relevant. It doesn't matter if price rejects. Dear Lord. And it's snowing. Awesome. Everything I ever wanted. Just more snow. And I was going to go grocery shopping tonight. Grocery shopping for me is a 20-minute drive. It's actually probably going to be like a 45-minute drive now. Yay. I mean, this is pretty neat. The only article that I'm finding who knew was that Binance is making cryptocurrency exchange, well, is basically 3 commas is allowing anybody who registers a new Binance account to use 3 commas for free. And essentially, they're allowing 3 commas to be a broker for Binance. So Binance is the exchange, 3 commas is the broker. But I don't see anything about American users being able to trade on Binance. You would still have to go set up. Let me read this article. The full functionality of 3 commas will be provided at no charge to all new Binance accounts registered directly from the 3 commas website. So they're saying you can register your account for Binance at the 3 commas website. So if you're an American, you can essentially access 3 commas, which makes sense. You're trading via API. I wonder, though, if 3 commas will not allow you to trade on Binance unless you do KYC. But are you Safu? Oh, who knows, man. Right. I mean, yeah, of course, cryptonomics. Accessing Binance isn't a problem if you want to use a VPN. I'm just talking, you know. The U.S. government wants KYC if you even order a pizza. Yeah, I know. When Domino's starts asking for my birth date, it's bad stuff. Get Scott to go shopping for me. Scott's got stuff to do. Bro, do I even Wim Hof? Trader Joe's, Costco, or Walmart? Well, based actually Hy-Vee. Hy-Vee, my good friend. I got to keep it local. And Fairway. Hy-Vee and Fairway, man. Come on, bro. Better than Walmart. Neat. Well, you know what? We'll research this a little bit, and maybe we'll make a tutorial on it. That's something that people have been wanting me to do for a while, is make a 3 commas tutorial. My issue with Binance is that they won't let you withdraw unless you do KYC. I got sucked into that when people were saying Binance didn't ask. Yeah, right. Well, that's the problem, sir. Well, I mean, that's not strictly correct. So I withdraw from Binance on accounts that I haven't done KYC on. Where there is a helpful smile in every aisle, yes. Yes, Binance has suffered some leaks. They didn't have all their user data hacked, but it definitely wasn't pretty. I agree with that. That's why I'm not a big fan of KYC. KYC doesn't stop terrorists from like the whole thing is like KYC, anti-money laundering. Like none of those regulations actually stop determined money launderers. It doesn't. It just makes things difficult for retail traders. It's over-regulation. Tell me one exchange that has not gotten hacked. To the best of my knowledge, BitMEX, ByBit, Deribit, FTX, basically the derivatives platforms that actually have engineers that work from traditional finance. And essentially, every person that has not worked in finance that has created an exchange, that's gotten hacked. Could be a coincidence, but something that I've definitely noticed. Again, I might be a little wrong about that, but in my experience. Yeah, the good old days were Poloniex and Bittrex KYC free back in 2016, my friend. Wish they would stick to the old school ASL confirmation like back in the AOL days. The proposed blockchain reorg by CZ after the hack didn't go over too well either. Yeah, I mean, listen, here's the thing. I listened, I watched that interview, or is the live tweet Periscope stream from CZ. And I think the reality is that I honestly don't think he was thinking about, like, I don't think he meant that, because somebody was just like, are you guys considering a reorg after this? And he was like, yeah, it's something that we're potentially like thinking of. I think that dude had been up for like maybe like 72 hours and hadn't slept and like didn't really mean that. You know, I think he read that question wrong. It's also possible that CZ is not. So how do I put this into terms? So I'm not saying that CZ doesn't know far more about Bitcoin than your average duck or even your average cryptocurrency enthusiast, hobbyist, or trader or investor. But the reality is CZ is a businessman. Like, that dude is not spending his days like researching Bitcoin fundamentals or Bitcoin development or different Bitcoin improvement protocols or Lightning Labs development. Like, he's not. CZ is the CEO of a massive international exchange. He has got so much on his plate that I'm sure that is not one of his pet projects. Plus, he's essentially blockchain agnostic. Of course, he runs an exchange, caters to altcoins. So it's also possible that when he read that, he wasn't thinking, he didn't immediately make the connection, oh, BTC reorg equals modifying the history of the blockchain. It's, you know, sometimes you just say something, right? You're like, you answer a question, and then it's not till later that you're like, oh, wait, duh, that's stupid. People make slips of the tongue, man. So I don't think he actually proposed reorging the blockchain. That's actually how it played out. Somebody just asked the question in a Twitter live stream, like, are you considering a reorg after the hack? And he was like, that's something that we're considering. And then boom, right on to the next question. And then everybody made a big deal about it. And then he came out the next day and had to tweet about it. And I think that it was just a slip of the tongue. Once you become big enough of a criminal, you probably have a contact at the CIA or something that puts you through to their laundering desk at some major bank somewhere. Yeah. HSBC. KYC is for the little guys / suckers. Yeah, they want to be able to track exactly what you're doing at all times. Ian Cortor says, Justin, yesterday I noticed that you exited on the 12-hour signal before the candle closed. Can you explain the justifications between exiting, entering before or after? Yeah, I mean, I cover all this in the webinar series, man. And the VIP Ask Me Anythings, but yeah, I don't wait until the candle closes. I trade the hour prior or the hour after is the trading window. So you can begin trading, or you can begin your evening scan or your daily scan or whatever time frame scan. Again, we're talking about specifically the daily time frame here, either an hour prior or an hour after. The sweet spot is 30 minutes prior to the daily candle close. That is in my opinion, the sweet spot of when to actually execute your trades and enter your positions. And that's just the routine. It's not only a routine, it's just a good time frame. There's statistics that back this up, or at least in my testing anyways, of executing on different time frames and different time frame windows. But essentially we're waiting for our indicators to update. And when you're an hour or particularly within 30 minutes of the daily closing, your indicators are not going to change. They're going to be what they are. So you don't need to wait. And there's often increased volatility on the candle close. So you don't want to be trading into that. So the hour after is okay, but you're going to get more slippage if you trade in the hour after. And so the same thing for a 2-hour signal, you want to be waiting 10, 15 minutes before it closes, ideally like 10 to 5 minutes. 4-hour, I mean, you're looking at about 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, again, roughly the same thing. 8-hour, again, 15 minutes before it closes. 12-hour, 30 minutes before it closes. Daily, you can stretch that up to about an hour, but you don't want to trade prior to that. El Chapo probably doesn't wash his money Ozark style. Trillions in annual activity in the black market doesn't just get buried. It finds its way back into the system. People get paid to look the other way. Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. Where do I see Mr. Tezos turning around? Let's actually go look at it on Coinbase, actually. You mean as in like turning around to the upside? I don't for the foreseeable future. I said that a couple days ago. We're going to have to take off the 30 period Donchian. We're going to have to use our EMAs. We've got the 13 exponential moving average coming in at $1.08, and we've got the secondary baseline coming in at roughly $1. So I would be interested to see what kind of reaction we get off of that. Potential baseline bounces in both of those areas. Other than that, we'd be waiting for a continuation signal on the daily time frame. Got a very clear exit signal right here. Actually, sorry, right here is the exit signal on Tezos. So we were basically allowed to sell the closing top, not obviously the market top of the wick, but the closing top right here. And, it's kind of hard to discount the similarities to Bitcoin here. Big Jericho candles off of the bottom. Actually, it's quite different, to be quite honest with you. But blow off top on Tezos due to the announcement of Tezos staking being allowed at Coinbase. So I would definitely want this thing to settle down before establishing a position, if one even thinks that that's a good idea. Oh, this is interesting. We do have an order block right here. So, that's actually not a terrible setup. We have this order block that's actually stretching from $1.11 to $1.08. And we've got this 13 period exponential moving average that's sitting right below us. It's not a bad area for a reversal within the direction of the trend trade. Reversal baseline bounce. Because we can't use the Donchian because of this wick. It's throwing our calculation off. So we're going to have to revert back to the 13 EMA on this one. It's not a bad setup. It's a pretty significant area of supply. Demand, flipped supply, broken, i.e. bullish breaker. So that's a bullish breaker. And you buy bullish breakers. Let's look at targets. $1.24, $1.36, and $1.47. It's not a bad stab. Mr. Ether says in that case he shouldn't be answering questions if he isn't paying attention to what he's answering. Yeah, but I mean, come on, man. He's CZ. He's he does his thing, man. He's going live. He's trying to answer questions to the best of his ability, and I think he answered a lot of. I think he answered pretty well. This was, I mean, right after the Binance hack, he's getting peppered with questions. His team has been up for like 72 hours trying to fix this stuff, and he's just trying to provide a little bit of transparency and accountability. Now, again, we can like look into, are there ulterior motives? Was Binance complicit? What could they have done better? But let's just, I just want to juxtapose, and before, I'm not trying to dick ride Binance here or CZ or anything, but the reality is, I mean, he's got a tough job, like running the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange with all of the scammers, all of the spammers, all of the nonsense. It's a tough gig, man. I do not envy CZ. Definitely don't envy CZ. And he goes live and he tries to discuss things. He tries to talk. He tries to come up with ideas. They've launched a lot of cool and innovative products. Let's just juxtapose that from, for example, I've got friends that trade a lot in the shitcoin markets, right? On all these like tiny exchanges. And we are getting exit scam after exit scam after exit scam after exit scam on these exchanges. And those people don't go live on Twitter. Those people don't answer questions. Those people don't do Q&As. Those people don't go live on Periscope. So I definitely feel you, man, but don't want to. I almost feel like the Britney meme, like, just leave him alone. Just leave him alone. He's got a hard life. He's only a boy. He's just a boy. Second hardest job in the crypto world being me. You guys make it pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. I've got my system figured out. Been trading it for a long time. Trading for me is easy peasy. It's clean and objective. It's not always easy. It can be stressful, man. I get to focus on mentoring and helping people out. I get to produce great content with my team. It's been hard getting here, but you guys make it worth it. You guys really do. I'm very, very grateful. I'm very grateful to be able to do what I do and provide the value that I can to you. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty excited for this weekend. I'm really looking forward to these videos we're gonna release. I think you guys are gonna like them quite a bit. Let's go check back in with that 4-hour long signal. Two-hour long signal, my bad. I don't know why I said earlier that it was a 4-hour. 2-hour long signal right here. In 11 minutes. Not a 4-hour long signal, sorry. 4-hour long signal, or the 4-hour signal would be getting you out of the shorts in 11 minutes. If you were in an active short, that's giving you an exit signal. 2-hour though is going to be giving you a long trade, taking you up to 88.42, 89.19, and 89.95. Justin, check BTC. I thought that's what I was doing. Satoshi Nakafomo, what's going on, man? What are we FOMOing on today, brother? 8,500 first or 8,000? Well, 8,500 would 8,500 would come before 8,000, my good friend. BNB Link VChain USDT pairs for Mr. Ollie S in the Discord. Thank you, Mr. Ether. Let's check them. Satoshi Nakafomo. Well, before we get into the charts, that's fairly easy. The fees on BitMEX are, or excuse me, the fees on ByBit are the same as on BitMEX. 0.075 taker fee if you're taking from the market in the form of a market order, and negative 0.025 rebate if you are making the market with the use of the limit order. Some days were just made for Xanax, face it. I cannot support the use of psychotropic substances on this stream, sir. Clean living. VET, well, we already talked about VChain. I don't see the USDT pair being significantly different. Let's check out the Stinky Linky. Let's see what we got here. Long signal on VChain right on Chainlink USDT right here. One down candle and then boop bam. Let's see if we've hit any TPs. We've hit TP1. We haven't hit TP2 yet. TP2 sitting around $3.10. We got about seven more cents to go. Is this a break? This is a pretty decent breakout setup. This would be, in terms of support and resistance or a breakout trade, you have this consistent level of resistance. Again, same thing. Here's the low. You butt up against resistance. You form a higher low that is above or holding the median of that range. And then you consolidate near the top and then you break it. Good breakout signal. I'd be a little eager for continuation of this trade if one were in a trade. And if one's kind of looking for a position, you either establish a small position with the intention of actually getting pullbacks. Because when you get a breakout like this, you either get immediate continuation or you don't. So if you took a stab on this trade, that's a pretty, again, percentage risk doesn't matter. Position size matters. So if you're going to enter now, it would be small position size, and you're banking on immediate continuation and an actual break of the trend. If there's a down candle, I would exit the position, regardless of how steep or small that down candle is. And then you can take the real continuation trade. But other than that, all right, I'm going to look at what's the last one here, my brother. Mr. Bonanza Buzz, Binba. There is a continuation trade that we got 2 days ago right here. Price coming down to the qualifying line, bouncing off of it, giving us that Minx crossover right here, 2 days of expansion. Yeah, I actually don't like this one because we do have this bearish order block turned bearish breaker. And you're supposed to sell bearish breakers. So I would want to see No, that's not true. We have closed inside of it, have we? So you actually could take BNB to the upside right here. Especially if Bitcoin is going to remain boring than the opportunities in altcoins. So yeah, you actually could take this one similarly to the upside as well. 22.35, 23.36, and 24.37. Same thing though, man. Any down candle and you want to hop out of the position and not hodl that down to a long loss. Throw in a jab. Throw in a jab. All right, guys, with that being said, howdy. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another exciting episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Thank you so much for investing your time and energy in us today. Thank you so much for all your patronage. I highly appreciate it. Hope you guys go on to have a fantastic day. If you enjoy what we do here and you would like to support the content, please help us grow. Make sure to hit the like button on your way out if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel if you're not. If you're watching us over on fantastic platforms such as Twitch or my favorite D Live, make sure to give us a follow. We highly appreciate that. And let people know. Share the link to the show around your friends, your family, even people you don't like. It's okay. They need to see the information. It's important. We do our best with our analysis, with our breakdown, and with just being the place where we can gather every single day, relax, recoup, and talk about what we're going to be doing this evening for the daily close. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, sarcastic remarks, and or death threats, please leave them in the comment section down below, and we'll do our best to get back to you within the next 48 hours if it is a legitimate question. Really excited about these videos we're going to be releasing on the weekend, so definitely make sure to subscribe and watch out for those. And I'm losing my voice. And we will be back tomorrow. Same crypto time. I am losing my voice. Same crypto time. Yes, I'm your ROG hero. Same crypto time, same crypto network tomorrow at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope you guys trade safely, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Be good. Open the chest. We can open the chest for the D-livers over there. It's going to take about 30 seconds. Oh, whoops. Shoot, there's only 13.8 lemons. Sorry, guys. I forgot to stock the chest. I'll do it tomorrow, I promise. I'll double it down tomorrow. 100 lemons in the chest tomorrow, I promise. Four seconds to do distribution. And congratulations, Big Saintsy and Forza World, for the distribution of the lemons. You guys are awesome. Love you so much. Thanks for supporting the D live stream. All right, guys, be good, and I will see you all tomorrow.